Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6, and today we're going to talk about something very interesting and on most of our minds, and that's gas prices. And today we're here with Emily Leroy. She's with the Tennessee Oil Makers Association, and my friend Bill Parsons from Parsons Oil Company. Hey, how are y'all doing?
Doing good, Don.
Thanks for having us.
Y'all nervous about gas prices?
Everybody's nervous about gas prices.
First of all, Emily, tell me about yourself and what you do so everybody will know what's going on.
I'm the Associate Director at the Tennessee Oil Marketers Association, and we are a trade association for fuel distributors and convenience store owners. And this association has been around since 1929. And so the industry's changed a lot since then.
The few things that we talked about before the show to actually prepare for this, then there's a lot of things that they're going to tell you that I didn't have a clue about, and I think most people didn't know either. And Bill Parsons has been around for a long time, and oil's been in your family for a long time. That's why you're just rich, right? That's what people think.
Well, my family, this family business was started in 1927 by my grandfather, and we've been here for over 80 years now, and I'm third generation. Our business has changed and evolved over a lot of different things. We were with the Gulf Oil Company, and then it turned into BP Oil Company. Now we sell Shell oil products.
So your family has seen many changes in the gas business.
Sure have. Sure have.
How was it when you were young? What would your grandfather see? What would he think about today?
Well, basically, my grandfather bought this business from Frank Rambo, who had the Chevrolet dealership in Fayetteville. Wow. And Frank Rambo got the Gulf distributorship in 1911, which I think was the second Gulf distributorship in the state of Tennessee. And Frank needed gasoline and gasoline outlets to help him sell cars. So he dealt with Gulf Oil Company for a number of years and decided he didn't want to deal with gasoline. And my great-grandfather was a petroleum marketer in Tullahoma, and my great-grandfather, my grandfather came and bought the business from Mr. Frank Rambo.
Wow, very interesting. Who is running the business now? Who all's involved over there at Parsons Oil?
Well, it's myself and my brother Hillard and Jack.
Okay.
And your son Jared is working there as
Yes,
well, so
he
he's
is.
a fourth generation.
Yes, he is.
That's amazing. That's
He's
really good.
Since he graduated.
And that's a real typical story of wholesale fuel distributors and convenience store owners in the United States, but particularly in Tennessee. They are mainly locally family-owned businesses, and a lot of people have that perception that they see a Shell oil sign or Exxon sign out, that means that those companies are owned by Big Oil, and that is not the fact. 93 to 95% of the convenience stores in the United States are locally owned and operated.
Wow.
So Bill does a good job representing our organization here in Fayetteville.
How was gas distributed back in the early days, and how is it distributed to you today? That's a, I mean, did railroad ever bring it in, or?
Well, our bulk plant was located on the railroad, and the rail would bring their gasoline in and unload gas at our tanks. We would get our packaged oils by rail, and we started hauling our own gasoline about 1963. And we're still hauling our own gasoline today. We run 2 trucks, and I have 4 drivers, and we run 7 days a week.
And that's where a big expense of gas is getting it brought into a town with no railroad or pipeline or anything else, right?
That's right.
Where do they go get it?
We pick up our gasoline at terminals in Nashville, Tennessee, and in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's brought into the terminals by pipeline. The pipelines start at the Gulf Coast, where all the refineries are, and it runs from the Gulf Coast into Birmingham, into Atlanta, into Chattanooga, and from Chattanooga it goes into Knoxville and Nashville. Knoxville and Nashville are the end of the line for the pipeline.
Wow, it's interesting, and we're not talking about a thing that we talked about before yet, but the pipeline is a very interesting thing because that one pipeline carries all the fuels. I think you
Right.
told me that before. That's an interesting
It's
thing.
over 50 years old as well. It's
Oh, really?
completely maxed out in capacity. And a lot of people, will say, well, why is gas so much in Middle Tennessee? Well, we've got an old pipeline that's maxed out in capacity. And that's a problem all over the United States in infrastructure. There hasn't been a new refinery built in the United States since 1974. And many of the pipelines in the United States are old. I mean, just think about it. If we hadn't expanded the interstate in Tennessee in 50 years, what would traffic be like? and how much this state has grown and how much more fuel is being used. And yet the pipeline has not been able to grow to accommodate that.
Well, we know too that pipelines, people just don't want them coming through their
Right.
backyard. And we
Yes.
had one coming through here, and people fought it
Right.
tooth and nail. And we knew that with that pipeline not coming through here, the prices of gas was going to continue to rise.
Exactly. And that's a trade-off that people in the United States have to realize that they're making. You're making a trade-off to have a cleaner burning fuel, which we are now. We have cleaner burning fuels now. We have fuels that are better for the environment, better for air quality, but they're more expensive. So that's not all that's behind the rise in cost, but that's part of it, certainly.
Bill, you told me that the pipeline carries all the fuels. I'm thinking how they keep from getting mixed up. Can you explain that?
Well, there's a buffer that goes in between. They might ship
okay.
so many gallons of gas, and it's some type of buffer, and it's like a water solution
Right.
that they put in between gasoline and diesel.
It's incredibly fascinating and complicated because you think that pipeline goes from the Gulf Coast all the way up to Maine. So they basically supply all the fuel for the whole East Coast. That's jet fuel, that's diesel, dyed diesel, all the different grades of gasoline, lube oils. What else? What am I leaving out? I'm sure there's some, and all the different kinds of, what Bill's talked about
Kerosene.
earlier, kerosene, boutique fuels. For instance, during the summertime, different parts of the country have to carry different fuels that are good for air quality. There's 2 in Tennessee, 2 in Alabama, there's at least 2 in Georgia. So they have to separate all those different fuels going up the pipeline and then shoot them off into the spur lines.
Wow. We are so dependent on fuel across the United States and America. As you say, it's pumped all the way to Maine and all the things. It's so important that we have gasoline here, because if we lost that, it would just really just devastate our entire
Right.
West.
Well, the only time that I ever know of that the pipeline has shut down was at 9/11. And
Oh.
it did shut down briefly, for about 6 hours?
Yeah.
And it caused a major panic,
Well,
as you
even
can
after
imagine.
Katrina and Rita in 05, it was only running about 30% capacity
Right.
at that time too, because they couldn't get
There just
the
wasn't
product
any,
out of the
right.
refineries into the pipeline. And it was a very touchy and close situation during that time.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk more about all kinds of gas fuels and what all that's out there, which I think we mentioned just about all of them today. We're going to talk about gas prices. That's what's on everybody's mind. And I'm just going to throw out at that and say, gas prices, where are we going? What's it look like?
Well, I mean, it just seems to be going up, and I always, when people ask me about gas prices, if they're going to go up or down, I always say, if I knew the answer to that question, I wouldn't be in this job. I'd own an island somewhere.
That's right.
So speculation is driving the market, and it has been for the past 2 years. Gasoline's always been priced on supply and demand. As supply surges, the price surges. As demand drops off, and supply has been tighter because of India and China coming into the market, because of the war in the Middle East. And those things were driving prices up till you got to about $2.50. And then speculation really took over. And we believe in our industry that the pricing of crude oil is no longer linked to supply and demand. It is now just linked to speculation. And who knows, I mean, now you're talking about market economies, and when it's not tied to supply, it's much harder to guess. Is it going to keep going up? I mean, I never would have imagined we'd be talking about $5 gas, but we are. But there's also, in the marketplace, what goes up must come down. When you look at the dot-com bubble, look at the housing market, is the petroleum market going to be the same? Is there a bubble that eventually is going to burst and the prices are going to fall? And I don't think anyone knows the answer to that, but we strongly believe in our industry that commodity speculation needs to be investigated. And there is a website, if your customers are interested, it's www.stopoilspeculators.com. And they can go on there, and there's a link that they can contact their congressman and ask them to do some investigating into the commodities market.
Yeah, there may be people that are buying stocks over the New York Stock Exchange on crude oil, and they might not even be aware of it, but it might be something that is done by their stockbroker or whatever. Sure. And they're buying crude oil, but they're making a profit on it. It might be helping their retirement, but it's costing
sure.
the price of fuel to go up also.
Well, you know, I was in D.C. last week, and we were up there, and we saw a lot of the congressmen and people. And to be honest, you know, we were there with the Washington Youth Tour with the kids, and you know, what's on everybody's mind was the gas prices. They would ask the congressmen and senators and people about that. And to be honest with you, it didn't seem like they had an answer at all. I mean, it seemed like they didn't. I mean, not slamming any of them.
Right.
It just seemed, you know, they're talking about alternative fuels, and they're talking about you know, electric cars, and all these things are just so far out
right.
that that's not the immediate answer today.
Well, that's because there isn't just one answer. I mean, there's no silver bullet that's going to happen that's going to make prices come down immediately, or even very much in the long term. But I think that there are a lot of things that can be done as a package that do need to be done. And one of them is investigating the commodities market, and the other is that people don't realize that at $4 a gallon, if you use a credit card, that costs you about 10 cents a gallon.
Wow. Well, we can go on and talk about the credit card fees. Now, we deal with credit card fees here at Fayetteville Public Utilities as well, because when a customer comes in and they pay their electric bill, and if it's $100, it's going to cost us $102, so we pass that on to the customer.
Right.
At your place, you're absorbing that cost. Am I right there, Bill?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Sure am. Credit card fees are, a credit card, a bank card can cost our store 2 to 3% of a gasoline sale, which 2 to 3% of a gasoline sale, if it's not hardly $4 a gallon yet, but just using $4 as a round number, that's 8 cents a gallon. So it's
Sure.
A credit card purchase costs me about 7 to 8 cents a gallon. Well, my profit margin is not 7 to 8 cents a gallon, so the credit card companies are making more than I am
Right.
off the price of gas. And you know, I'd like to say this: the higher gasoline gets, the less a marketer or a convenience store operator makes on gasoline. We would rather see cheaper gas than higher price gas, basically because everybody maxes their weekly expenditures out on a $75 tank of gas. They don't have anything left over to
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
purchase from our in-store items or other businesses, people that have restaurants or clothing stores or whatever it might be.
Got to cut back somewhere, and the public does not seem to be cutting back in terms of their gasoline buying at the moment yet, anyway.
No, I think that we are seeing a downturn.
Oh, you are?
Wow. And not just a major one, but I think that I'm hearing that people are seeing a downturn in volume, and not only volume, but in-store sales.
Oh, sure.
Because as Bill says,
Oh, yeah.
you know, they just don't have that disposable income, and he referenced this, but I think that convenience store owners are really unusual, and they're probably one of the few retailers out there who want their product to cost less.
Sure.
Because the less it costs, the more they make on it, and the more disposable income the public has. You know, after they buy the tank of gas, they can go inside and they can buy the beer and the chips and the sodas and fried chicken and those kind of things. So these high prices are really hurting convenience store owners.
I can see that can be. I know one of the things that we talked about earlier is you have 3 different grades of gas. And the interesting thing is, you're telling me that the middle grade gas is actually a blend. So you actually have 2 tanks in the ground, and when I get a middle grade, which that's what I buy, I'm getting a little bit of both.
Sure. What happens when I send my truck to the terminal, and I have a store that has a 3 tanks, and not many stores have 3 gasoline grade underground storage tanks anymore, but they're going to blend when I hook the hose up my truck, they're going to blend it 35%, 65%, 35% being premium, 65% being regular gasoline, and it's going to give you the mid-grade. And basically, with the cost of premium and the cost of regular, it all amounts to the same thing anyway. So you're getting what you're actually paying for. It's not a trick to it, but they don't have to send that third grade of gasoline up the pipeline either.
Sure, very good.
So that does help, but you know, some cars want a little bit higher grade than the 87 octane, and they don't need the 93 octane. So that's why they do have the mid-grade.
Let's talk about alcohol and gas. That's coming whether we want it or not, right?
You know, and of course, in other parts of the U.S., ethanol blending has been going on for some time, but in Tennessee, it really just exploded along about October, November. You know, as of the fall, even September, there were probably only 2 fuel distributors in the state that were blending ethanol. At that time, there was only one that was blending E85, which is the higher blend that only flex fuel cars can take.
So that would be 15% alcohol, correct?
No, E85 is 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline.
Wow.
And you have to have a flex fuel vehicle in order to take that kind of fuel. Most cars on the road today can take a 10% ethanol, 90% gasoline, and that's called E10. They're just we're throwing out a lot of lingo here that we're used to, but that's E10, and that's the blend that you will see at most pumps, and they're labeled. State law requires that if you are blending, that you've got to label that on your pump contains ethanol, and you can expect that to be up to a 10% blend, but no higher.
Most service stations have an E10 blend now. All of them will have an E10 after the middle of September. September the 16th, I think all the terminals in Nashville will have an E10. So
now you're telling me, I think you mentioned that shale gas, at the moment, your shale gas does not have any in it, but you're saying by September 16th, you're going to have,
choice.
You have no choice but go that way. Now, I've got to ask, when we do this, is the 10% alcohol in my gas, is it going to affect my car? Is it going to affect my gas mileage? Can you
It should not. I mean, like I've talked to a lot of distributors who are handling it, and they're not seeing that right now. It may cause some complaints. Somebody might have to change a fuel filter or something, but I don't really know that.
Oh yeah, well you're actually saying that's not affecting my automobile at all, but now you do say it affects my gas mileage.
There's at E10, ethanol does have a lower gas mileage than gasoline, but has a higher octane. So you get a free little octane boost. But with an E10 blend, the change in your gas mileage is really going to be minuscule. Now, if you were using E85, it would be a little bit more significant. But of course, there is a big price difference. There's, with E10 as much as 5 cents, I think.
Cheaper?
Cheaper.
Okay.
With E85, of course, it would be much cheaper.
Well, the tax advantage on
Right. There's a 50
E10
cent.
is like 5.1 cents a
Right,
gallon.
for E10.
And right now, ethanol, I'm not sure what a gallon of ethanol costs, but it used to be when 5 months ago, ethanol was higher than gasoline. So now, gasoline may be a little higher than ethanol. So there might be a little more savings right there too.
But as far as, you should be fine. The convenience store owner has to go through a process before they can sell E10 or E85. They have to clean out all their tanks, and they have to do some changes to their pumps and their filters. And so you don't just come in and start filling up. You don't.
Sure.
They don't just
All of our pumps have filters on them, so there's not going to be any water that comes into your in your car tank. So.
But now, ethanol blends at the moment cannot be run up the pipeline. And blending has to be done at the terminals. And as Bill said, the terminals in Tennessee are Memphis, Knoxville, Nashville, and Chattanooga. And those are owned by the major oil, the gasoline and diesel, whatever, is owned by the major oil companies as they come up the pipeline until it hits the terminals. And that's when folks like Bill go and purchase it there. And, but what happens with ethanol is it has to be blended at that point.
I see.
So what has been happening is that the wholesale distributors like Bill, although he's not currently doing it, but many are doing what's called splash blending.
They'll go buy
They're-
their gas at the terminal, and then they'll go buy their ethanol at another terminal. So they're having to go two different
Right.
places to go to make a stop
Which
to
costs
fill
you
up
more
your
money.
local.
Actually, it is
So-
cheaper.
Oh, it's cheaper even.
It is cheaper for the distributors to do their own bulk purchasing of ethanol. So, but
You
what,
have to have a license to do it,
Right.
and a ethanol blend license, and I don't have one right now. I'd have to apply for that to get one, and shouldn't be any reason why we couldn't.
Right.
But we're just planning on buying ours at the terminal.
right.
Uh,
The major oil companies are moving to take over all the blending at the terminal.
For the folks who's just tuning in, maybe we're talking with Emily Leroy with the Tennessee Oil Makers Association and Bill Parsons with Parsons Oil here in town, and there's just so much to talk about. We're going to talk about something pretty deep now, and this is something I don't even understand. But y'all are talking about boutique fuels,
Boutique.
boutique fuels.
Boutique.
Okay.
That's like, for instance, your wife probably goes and buys her dresses at a boutique.
Yeah.
That's what we call boutique. And there's also another term that they use is the balkanization of fuel. But what happened is several years ago, the EPA came out and said, well, you've got bad air quality. And it's happened all over the United States. And they did it county by county. On a county by county basis, they'd come out and say, you know, Lincoln County, Giles County, you have bad air quality, you have to do something about your fuel. So as the years have gone on, county by county, they have gone to more refined fuels. In Tennessee, there's 2 summertime fuels. There's the 7.8 that's in Davidson and the Donut counties and Memphis. And then the rest of the state uses 9.0. There's a different fuel in Birmingham, they use 7.2. Atlanta uses reformulated gasoline. All over the United States, in all, there are 33 different boutique fuels. So when you talk about going from basically one type of fuel that everybody uses in the wintertime, and then in April the refineries have to start switching over to distributing 33 different ones. Anyone can see that that's going to cause a big increase in price and complication of distribution. And in our industry, we would really like to see a regional fuel.
Sure, I can see that because you're saying Nashville has different fuel than we have here.
Right. Yes.
Now, does this affect the car at all?
No, it's all air quality.
All air quality?
It's the emission that the gasoline gives off as you burn it or as you pump it.
Wow.
So,
So when you go to get your fuel, you've got to let them know what kind of fuel you have to have. Is that correct? Or
No, the terminal's set up. It knows what
Oh.
kind of fuel, and they tell me what kind of fuel I can buy,
Oh,
basically.
okay.
So if what happens, and has happened, the Nashville terminal might run out of my 9-pound fuel that I can buy, but they've got 7.8 fuel. They won't sell it to me.
no?
And I'm thinking, please, you know, I've had to actually buy, there's always 93 octane. I've had to actually buy 93 octane and put it in an 87 octane tank. So
Sure.
that's,
Cost you money.
yeah.
well, and one of the consequences of being at the tail end of a 50-year-old pipeline is that's frequently a problem in Middle Tennessee is fuel shortages at the terminals.
Sure. I can see because there's a lot of people using fuel. I mean, there's a lot of people on the road. And we mentioned earlier, you have, what kind of, how many fuels do you have over there? You have.
We have, I have 6 storage tanks with 5 different products. We've got K1 kerosene, which we don't have K1 kerosene this time of year, so I've got 2 empty fuel storage tanks. But we have ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, which is the less than 15 parts per million sulfur content. We have the 87 octane regular gasoline, and the 93 octane premium gasoline, and they are all the 9-pound Reed vapor pressure gasoline. And we also have dyed diesel fuel that we offer to off-road and farmers.
So explain dyed diesel fuel for the people at home. The average person might not realize there's only really one kind of diesel fuel, correct?
Yes.
But there's one kind that's got a red dye in it.
Well,
But now it's a
there's-
higher sulfur
yeah.
content.
No, well, not
Oh.
necessarily.
Yeah.
There is some, and it gets really confusing. We have to really be careful because if if a contractor has a brand new piece of equipment that's an '07 model or later,
Yeah.
it needs a ultra low diesel fuel. So that's all we're trying to handle, and all we're getting is a ultra low dyed diesel fuel. Basically, they inject dye at the terminal,
A red dye.
a red dye.
And if it's ever been in that tank, the officers can actually test that?
It's not
Yes.
taxed. It's not
Oh,
taxed.
it's not taxed.
It's
Okay.
not taxed.
There's not a state and federal tax on that diesel fuel.
So on the red fuel, the dyed diesel fuel,
Right.
there's no tax.
There's no tax, and it can only be used for exempt purposes, and that would be farming or state and local government would
Yeah.
basically be your two exemptions.
A
Logging.
contractor that uses it for building roads, an independent contractor will have to pay a state sales tax of 7% on the dyed fuel, but he does not have to pay the 42.8 cents state and federal tax.
No.
I think the feeling behind that is that when we really call it off-road fuel, and that's why they don't pay the road tax. It can only be used off-road.
We've been talking about tax here a little bit, and let's just talk about when, and we see it on the gas tanks when we're filling up. It says how much of this fuel goes to tax, but let's talk about that a little bit. So a gallon of gas that I pump, let's say I pump $4 worth of gas, okay? How much of that gas is taxed? Going to the state, going for whatever reasons they use it for?
Well, 39.8 is the total tax you pay. That's the combined state and federal tax.
That's 39.8 cents of that $4
right.
goes to,
Right, and in Tennessee, the 21.4, Tennessee has always had a dedicated road fund, and all of that money goes directly into the road fund. It doesn't go into the general fund and then gets portioned back out. And Tennessee has always had a pay-as-you-go system with the roads, so that when you're paying in your tax, that money goes immediately to pay for roads. And I think that's one reason Tennessee has always had a really good road system. The federal tax goes up to Washington, and then they do divvy it back out. And there are some states that get back less than they pay in, and Tennessee is one of them.
well, Emily, let's talk about the Tennessee Oil Makers Association.
And that's oil marketers.
Oil
Oil marketers.
marketers, what did I
We
say?
don't.
Oil
We don't make
makers.
any.
Oil makers. Did I
We're
say
not
that
the
before?
refiners. That's
Oil
okay.
marketers. All right, oil marketers.
We're
Let's
not
talk-
making anything over there in
Yeah.
our office.
That's right, we're marketing it and not making it.
What does your office do for people like Bill all over the Middle Tennessee?
Well, basically, we help them with regulatory issues. That's our main focus. And as you can imagine, someone who has tankers and underground storage tanks and bulk storage tanks and convenience stores has got a lot of regulatory issues. And Bill could probably tell you what some of his biggest ones are. But we basically help them stay in compliance. We help them with lobbying. I'm a registered lobbyist. I don't say that all that often. but and we have educational functions and those kind of things. So.
As a lobbyist, do the lawmakers listen to you?
I think they listen to us because they know that we represent people that are local.
Sure.
And I think that's really important to a legislator when a lobbyist goes and talks to him. And if I go and talk to someone who represents Bill, and I can say, well, Bill knows about this, and he's either for this or against it.
Yeah, every year our group goes and we talk to our legislators in Nashville, and every year we go to Washington. We were in Washington in May, and we were in Nashville in March, or the end of March.
And what do you do when you're there?
We go visit them and we tell them about the issues like the speculation or with the credit card fees, or it's just a lot of other different issues that we talk to them in Nashville about, things that could hurt our business, and we try to explain to them how it could affect us, and in the good ways or the bad ways, what we want them to support or what we feel like they don't need to support this, and we give them the reasons why.
I guess you try to talk to them about regionalizing the boutique fuels.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not something that can be done on a statewide basis.
Oh.
And we wish that it could. especially after Katrina, when there was that major fuel shortage, it was talked about quite a bit in the industry, and unfortunately it wasn't. And EPA still continues to monitor that on a county by county basis, and just really makes no sense, because anyone can look at a county and see that all the air quality is not generated there. You've got prevailing winds, and so really things should be done on a regional basis just for air quality purposes.
Sure.
Even if you're not talking about the price.
And I'm sure you lobbying against the commodity issue you mentioned earlier.
That was when we were in Washington in May, and Bill went on that trip. We talked to everyone in our congressional delegation, and
will you explain to the people what that is? Because I know you mentioned it to me, and I'm not really sure if I understand.
Okay, well, and I'm going to give I'm not an expert on the commodities market. It's very, very complicated.
It is.
But there are two types of commodities markets, and they're regulated markets and they're unregulated markets. And they actually call the unregulated markets the dark markets. And in the regulated commodities markets, the NYMEX and ones like that, they actually have to report, and they have to show who is buying and selling and what the amounts are. They have limits, they have established limits. And the reason for that is so that you can see if someone is trying to manipulate the market. And for instance, back in the 80s when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market, and that was in a regulated market, and they were able to see it and stop it. Well, the problem is all the unregulated markets, which are the European markets, and there's actually one that's based in Atlanta.
Wow.
So the most that we can say about those markets is we don't know if there's market manipulation going on. There probably is. I mean, you can see the end result in how high gas prices are going, not related to supply and demand. So I think there's a very good case to be made that there is market manipulation going on that's driving the price up. And if those markets were regulated and you could see who's speculating, who's spending, if there were limits that they could speculate, then I think that you would definitely see the price of gasoline come down. The other factor is the weak dollar. That's causing more people to put more money into gasoline, into crude oil speculation. If the economy got better, I think a lot of the speculation, not all, but I think it would get better.
Sure. Bill, I'm sure you're proud to have somebody like her.
Oh, yeah, I sure am.
It's hard for us country boys to pull that off.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's talk about something that's real serious. It's been on the news quite a lot, too, this week, especially as gas prices continuing to go higher. There's people continuing to basically steal it, driving off.
Right. And of course, at my stores, my policy is prepay, and I hate to do that, but at a neighborhood gas station like mine, if you're a regular customer there, my convenience store clerks are going to turn that pump on you if they know you and they see you there regularly. And basically, that's what I tell them. If unless you know you're going to collect for that fuel, don't turn the pump on, because first thing you know, they'll turn the pump on, that person's going to drive off. It's amazing how much that happens when they turn that pump on for somebody they don't know. I don't understand why my clerk would do that, but they do. And
Emily, do you see this problem, I guess, everywhere?
Oh yeah, and it's been, ever since gas went over $2, it's been a real issue in our industry. And again, I think the public often links a gas station to big oil, and they see big oil, they see Exxon, and they see how much of a profit they're making, and they think, well, big oil is sticking it to me, so they're making so much money, they're never going to miss this if I drive off, and I really need the money. And what they don't realize is that station is locally owned. They're not sticking it to big oil, they're sticking it to someone who lives down the street from them, who goes to church with them, that they go to Rotary with. And because big oil does not own most of the convenience stores in the United States, 95% are locally owned and operated. And that's a point we always try to get across to people, and I think that it is getting more known.
That's interesting. I guess it's always been a problem, but if you drive off now, there's a state troopers thing that says he'll take your driver's license.
There is a state law that if you get caught driving off without paying for your gasoline, they can take your license away from you.
Wow. I was looking back at some of the oil prices or actually gasoline prices. In 1979, it was 80 cents a gallon. And then we'll go on to 1989. It's up to about $1.20, $1.30, you know, and then and
now,
it sort of
remember
leveled
that
off there for a
40
while.
cents of that's tax.
Still, that's right, still 40.
Right.
So gas was pretty cheap.
Right.
And now you can see the goes straight up and pretty fast.
Right. Very fast.
Very
I mean, there's just nothing that you can compare it to in our lifetime other than Katrina. And when Katrina happened, there was an actual major supply shortage. So it was tied to supply and demand. But there's nothing happening in the market right now to justify this kind of price spike.
Right. Well, like you mentioned, when gas was 79 cents a gallon, a barrel of crude oil was less than $30 a barrel. It might have been 25. I'm not sure what it was, but now it's $100 or more than that. So
131. Yeah.
Wow. And changing every day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
last week it was $135 a barrel. So
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, all we can do is we're United States, including me. You know, we're so dependent upon it. We have to have some, but you are saying that people are cutting back some.
oh yeah, I can tell you. I mean, I know our gasoline volume's off from what it was a year ago, and I keep, you know, and it's the same. It's industry wide. It's industry wide. People are cutting back.
Now, Bill is with Shell. I guess you represent basically all the companies, right?
Right, and of all different types, we represent everybody from the guy who owns one convenience store to the big chains like Pilot and Mapco, and then we represent folks. There are still a lot of wholesale distributors that don't have any convenience stores. They basically are just sell wholesale fuel, and we represent those folks as well. So it's a real mix.
Yeah, we have our own stores that we operate. But then we've got open dealers too that own their own stores that we supply to them, and we can offer them the Shell brand, or we can offer them an unbranded gasoline product also. But we have about 20 retail outlets that we supply gasoline to in the surrounding area in Lincoln, Franklin, and Marshall County.
But there's so many different types of fuel. I never realized. I've worked for Toma for 12 years, and it is an extremely complicated business. And there's racing fuel, there's jet fuel, there's kerosene, there's K1, there's heating oil. You know, there's all the different grades of gasoline. There's diesel, dyed diesel, ultra low sulfur diesel, high sulfur diesel. I mean, you can just go on and on.
Wow.
And keeping track of it and what the different taxes are on everything and who can use it all is.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So all those fuels there. Now, what fuels do you get? Racing fuel. Where do people get that?
You
Don't know.
I don't know.
Well, then there's lube oils, and there's all different kinds of
Oh, sure.
lube oils for manufacturing, and those are all real specialty issues. And generally, a company that probably doesn't have any retail that specializes in wholesale fuels will have a niche market of some sort where they'll do specialty lube oils or racing fuel.
Yeah, you go to any different marketer like myself, and they're going to do something a little bit different than I do. I mean, we're all unique, individual type companies,
Wow.
and we just try to find something that works for us.
So, if you had one thing that you could tell the public at home about gas prices, what can we do about it? What would you say?
Well, I would say that the two things that you can do is to contact your congressman and ask them about the credit card fees. And retailers ought to be allowed to give you the choice of whether or not you want to pay that credit card fee. If you want to pay 8 to 10 cents a gallon for the convenience of using that card, that's fine. If you don't, you ought to be given that choice. And the other thing you need to contact your congressman about is the oil speculation. And I think if there's some regulation of the commodities market, we can definitely see a downturn in prices.
And Bill, you're saying you just rather us use a cash? You like cash? Everybody likes cash.
Well, not unless you have a Shell MasterCard
Sure.
or something like that.
Of course.
Or a Shell gas card. Shell does not charge us fees for
Yeah.
us handling their card, so it's the same as cash. But any other
Plus
type of bank card, yeah, we're paying 2 to 3% plus a 15-cent per transaction fee.
In the consumer way, the Shell card gives you some money back, so that would help you some
Sure,
there.
our
The
Shell
consumer.
The
MasterCard
consumer.
gets 5% back on their Shell MasterCard purchases, like at $4 a gallon. That's almost 20 cents they can get back off the cost of that gallon of gas.
So I finally see the reason why they're doing that, so that works out good. Well, anyway, I really, really appreciate y'all coming. We've had Emily Leroy from the Tennessee Oil Marketers
Not refining any gasoline
Marketing-
in Nashville.
Marketers Association, and so you're in Nashville.
Right.
We've had Bill Parsons with Parsons Oil. We really appreciate y'all
Thank
coming.
you.
This is something that we need to do for a long time. Bill and I have talked about it. We just didn't know exactly how to pull it off. And you know, sometimes when you talk about fuel, people immediately are upset, and this is just mainly for information. And we hope that gas prices level off.
We hope they go down.
We do, we sure do.
You guys have a more optimistic view than I do. I'm thinking I can't imagine them going down, but y'all think they can. So this is a positive thing here. But thank y'all very much for
Thank
coming.
you
Is there
so
anything
much.
else we've skipped? We can't.
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, I
I'm
appreciate
sure it'll come to mind later on.
That's right. Well, anyway, thank y'all very much for coming. I really appreciate it. We appreciate all the folks watching on Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6, and we will see you back in here next time right here on Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. I'm Don Counts.
This is Philip Shelton. We're coming to you live from the kitchen at FPU. Today we got a special guest here, Mr. Gerald Kaufman. He's with PSI. And Gerald is going to show us how to fix a banana split on a Broilmaster grill.
Well, first thing you do is take a banana. Don't get one that's real ripe, and then just take a knife and split through the peeling and down into the banana just a little bit. And then what you do is, after you do that, spread the peeling back a little bit from the banana and make a cavity in the banana. You may not want to watch all of this, but make you a cavity. We're gonna put something in this cavity.
So we're going to be putting marshmallows and chocolate chips in them, right, Gerald?
We're gonna put, first thing we're gonna put in the cavity after we get it split and make our cavity in our banana, we're gonna take and we're gonna fill the cavity with chocolate chips. You can also use peanut butter, butterscotch. They make a combination of peanut butter and butterscotch that you can use. Most of the time in these schools and shows that we do like this, we don't use peanut butter because a lot of people are allergic to peanut butter, so we use the chocolate, and just about everybody you see likes chocolate. So
Don't think I know anybody allergic to chocolate up here.
you don't hear too much about people being allergic to chocolate other than this makes them sweet. And then once you get your chocolate in there, you just want miniature marshmallows, not the big marshmallows, the miniature, and then just put this in, fill up your cavity with marshmallows.
Eric Essenberg, please call the operator. Eric, call
And
the operator.
actually, the Broilmaster grill, the way the cooking grids are made, they're ideal for doing a banana split on the grill. You can, because of the way the cooking grids, the banana is just right to just lay in those grooves on the grid. And you just you put these on the grill, peelings on them just like I'm making them right here. And then you just put them on the grill on indirect heat. And when the chocolate melts and the marshmallows melts, it's ready to take off. And you can add, if you got ice cream at home when you do these, you can have ice cream on the side, or you can add nuts on top of them, or cherries, or whatever you want to add to this to make it. But we call this a banana split on the grill. And what you're doing is you're just splitting the banana and then filling it cavity with chocolate morsels and marshmallows.
Well, all right. I think we got the grill on, so we're gonna fix and go out here and put them on. We've got our smoker shutter in the grill, and so how long does it take to cook them, Gerald?
Just a few minutes. If your grill's hot, you don't want to get it too hot, but about 350 degrees, and just put it on long enough to melt your chocolate morsels and your marshmallows and take it off. You're looking at about 8 to 10 minutes.
Well, all right. We're gonna go out here and put them on the grill, and then we're gonna see what they taste like.
Keep this on.
All right, here we are. We're out here with the Broilmaster grill head. We got it on. We're sitting on what, about 250, Gerald? Is that what we're on?
About 250 degrees. We need to get on up to about 300, 350.
Okay.
We'll give it, with the grill open, what we're going to do is the bananas that I've got prepared, we're going to take these bananas and we're just going to lay them on the grill. Stand up there.
That one there's got a big bow in it, doesn't
Some
it?
of them's easier to stand up than others. That one there's got the big bow in it. Makes it a little harder to stand up.
Those look like little boats.
So we can put those on there, and then we're gonna close the lid, and we're gonna give it a little time here to melt our marshmallows and our chocolate morsels.
While we're cooking right here, Gerald, you've been in the gas business how many years?
Soon be 43 years.
43 years. And you've been selling the Broilmaster grill for how many years?
Probably 40 out of those 43. So Broilmaster's been around for a long time. When I first started selling them, they made the 1000 series, and it was about the same as the 500 G5 series that they make today. And they've always been a good quality grill. Back then they made them with a cast iron burner in them, and you probably saw some that still got the old cast iron burner in it.
I've seen a few, not many left of
You
those.
may have some customers out there that still got some little 1000 grills. So
We do have some, but the burner now is this right here is the
this is a P series, which we call the premium grill. They only make the P3 and the P4 now. So, and now they've gone to a T series, which has got a different type burner in it. This one we call a figure 8 or a bow tie type burner, and where the other one has got an H type burner in it. So they're making some changes. They've added some features to these grills that, in my opinion, is great. The smoker shutter, they come out several years ago with a grill that they tried to make a smoker out of, but it just didn't do the job that they wanted to do. With this grill, though, you can cook. If you're going to do a steak, you need to get the temperature hot enough where when you put that steak on there, it's going to sear it and hold the juices in. To have a good steak, you got to hold those juices in that meat. And with this now, with the smoker shutter in it, you can use it just about any way you want to. You can grill on it, you can smoke on it, you can roast on it. And on the Broilmaster grills, people don't realize that you can cook a complete meal in this grill. 350 degrees on this grill is the same as 350 degrees in your oven at home. So anything that you bake or cook in your oven at home, you can also do on this grill. Hot weather and everything, if you want to keep the heat out of your kitchen, you can go out and go to your garden and get a fresh squash and bring it in and wrap it in aluminum foil or split it with, put some butter and salt and pepper and spices in it and put it on the grill, and about 20 minutes you have a piece of squash that's just delicious.
These are good grills, and we've been selling for quite a few years. People out there know about them, and every year our sales gets bigger and bigger. So there's definitely something good about the grill. If not, the sales wouldn't be keep going like they are.
That's right, and they are a grill that a quality, and once you buy one and if you keep it serviced, you shouldn't ever have to buy another grill.
Yeah. That's what we tell people. It's the last grill you'll buy.
It's the last grill that you'll buy, and.
Well, what do you think about our banana splits in there now? Look at, yes sir, look at them.
See our banana splits. They're just about ready for you to sample.
Okay.
They're gonna be a little hot when we take them off, so we'll have to let them cool just a little bit before we. But when you remove them from the grill, we put them on the platter. All you do is just peel the peeling off, and then you can just slice it and eat it just any way you want to.
I don't think we got any ice cream in the freezer there, but I wish we did, because they look good. Hold that for you, Gerald.
Okay. And we just about ready to try them and see how they turned out. I don't know whether you can tell or not, but the peelings gets dark, but you're not going to eat the peelings, so don't worry about the peelings. Cause we're going to get rid of the peelings.
Well, all right, let's go to the kitchen and open these bad boys up and see what we got. All right, here we are in the crew quarters, and we've got us a guinea pig, I guess you call it, right here. Mr. Curtis right here is fixing to try one of these banana splits right here. We're going to let him eat it and give us an opinion here.
They look really good.
They do. They turned out good, Gerald. The chocolate all melted through them and everything.
Chocolate's all melted, and
I still say we just.
We're gonna let him try it and see what he thinks about it. I hope he likes chocolate.
You can smell the chocolate.
And marshmallows and banana.
Still wish we had some ice cream. Is it good?
It's real good.
Smugly said it's okay. So Smugly said it's okay, guys.
They're good.
If you got a Broil Master grill, go get you some bananas, some chocolate chips, some marshmallows, or peanut butter, or whatever it is you need. Whatever it is you think you like to have on one, and fix you one. You can tell. Look at the chocolate on the plate there. That does look good.
And if you can't fix it at home, just come by here and look at the grills, and Phillips will give you the recipe on how to do it. So if you don't have it wrote down or remember it, Phillip can show you how to do it on the grill right here, and as long as you buy a grill from him.
Yeah, that's right. I appreciate you doing that, Gerald. And we want to thank Gerald for coming up. He's from Bessemer, Alabama. Actually, you were born and raised up here in Ardmore, wasn't you, Gerald?
I was born and raised in Ardmore, Alabama, Tennessee. I told my son one time I had to walk through 2 states to go to school. I lived on the Tennessee side and went to school in Alabama. So.
Okay. Well, all right. As you can see, Smugly has took care of that right there. So we thank y'all for watching, and if you get a chance, come by and check one of our grills out. Thank you.
Come here, big fella.
With all the money and electricity you'll save from TVA's Energy Right program, what's not to love? To find out how you can heat and cool your home for less, call your local power company or go to EnergyRight.com.
You know, Dad, 20 cents of every dollar we spend on our electricity goes to water heating. Mom, compact fluorescent bulbs use up to 66% less energy. You're wasting energy again.
An electric water heater will save you a lot more money
and energy every month.
To learn more about the energy and money-saving features of TVA's Energy Right program, log on to EnergyRight.com or call your local power company. No appliance lasts forever, so when your water heater or air conditioner passes on, find a more efficient replacement by visiting EnergyRight.com or calling your local power company.
How far would you go to keep your vision?
Anyone with diabetes is at risk for vision loss.
Diabetic eye diseases can sneak up without symptoms.
But these diseases can be treated.
And vision loss prevented
if they're caught with early screening.
If you have diabetes,
have a dilated eye exam once a year.
It's an hour of your time and worth it. How far would you go to keep your vision?
In the next 60 seconds, 12 people in our world will go blind. One of them a child. Hello, I'm Jimmy Carter. Experts predict in the next 15 years, the number of blind people could double to 75 million, yet 80% of blindness is preventable. Lions Clubs International has long been a champion of blindness prevention. I know because I am a Lion. Since 1990, Lions Clubs have saved the vision of 24 million people in countless communities through the Sight First program. Now, Lions have launched campaign Sight First 2 to expand blindness prevention programs worldwide and save the sight of 37 million more. Vision improves lives. We need your help. Support your local Lions Club. Save sight through campaign Sight First 2. Donate, volunteer, get involved. For more information, visit www.lionsclubs.org.
What do you know about H2O? Humans have always built their lives around water. Oceans, rivers, lakes, streams. You either move near the water, or you had to move the water to you. And that could be tough. Every plant, every animal, every one of us needs water to survive. And it's always been that way. We still need and use water in many ways every day. You wash your food, drink your juice, brush your teeth. These days, a person uses about 100 gallons of water per day. An ancient Roman citizen used almost 300 gallons per day, and that's a lot of water. Now you know, H2O.
This has been a public service announcement of the Fayetteville Public Utilities Water Department.
What do you know about H2O? All the water on Earth is being constantly recycled. The water you shower with, swim in, and drink is the same water that's been on Earth for millions and millions of years, since the oceans formed. Dinosaurs drooled in it. The Greeks and Romans bathed in it. Native Americans fished in it. Columbus sailed on it. Flipper was born in it. The Titanic sank in it. It's all the same water. The exact same water. It's been used over and over and over again and will be used by people, plants, and animals for years and years and years in the future. Talk about recycling. Now you know, H2O.
This has been a public service announcement of the Fayetteville Public Utilities Water Department.